Jeremy Shu's Bug Delver list, but he is down a game right now. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Imperial Painter, it is a somewhat of a all-in red deck. It plays ritual effects. It tries to resolve an early Blood Moon, and then a bunch of early disruption spells, either Blood Moon, Magus of the Moon, and then Painter grindstones the opponent out of the game.
Yep. Also gets to play main deck Red Elemental Blast as you set the Painter Servant onto blue, and then all of your Red Elemental Blasts become 1 mana Vindicates. And Red Elemental Blast in your main deck is not really that controversial of a call in Legacy, as so many of the decks are base blue.
So we'll keep you up to let's get you up to speed on the game state here. Jack is at 6 life, probably due to his own Ancient Tomb for the most part. He has an Imperial Recruiter and a Goblin Welder in play. They're both 1/1s. Looks like his plan A of locking out the game was unsuccessful. And now he's turned to an aggro plan. He's knocked Jeremy Shu down to 9. Jeremy with really no board, but he does have a Sylvan Library going, attempting to stabilize and take over this game.
There's some other backup plans that the Imperial Painter deck has as well. Especially in this matchup, you can just go for a very fast Blood Moon. Jack plays 4 in the main deck, and a lot of these Delver lists play 0 basic lands, so Blood Moon quite powerful.
Yeah, and Shu's list is one of them. He has no basics. If Jack got a turn 1 Blood Moon down, that would be game. Shu keeps one of the cards off the library. That'll put himself down to a mere 5 life. Now, despite the fact that Jack's deck is mono red, it doesn't play any burn, so it's going to actually have to just win the fairway, right?
Yeah, the only real burn effect in the deck is a single copy of Jaya Valor Task Mage.
Yeah, so Jeremy found a Tarmogoyf. He's going to go ahead and cast that. It looks like the extra card he took was Wasteland. You want to take it in addition to the Spell Pierce that he has in hand, wanting to take Jack off the mana required to assemble the combo. He's going to waste Ancient Tomb.
Jack also has 4 copies of Firebolt in his sideboard.
And end step, Jack's going to go ahead and Enlightened Tutor here. And this is interesting, there's no, Jeremy has a Spell Pierce in hand and has elected not to play it on the Enlightened Tutor.
Yeah, it's hard to hop in midway through the game state and figure out exactly what's going on. There is a risk here in that Jack does play a single copy of Great Furnace, which he could go get and then play and then use Goblin Welder. It appears he's going to get Grindstone instead.
Yeah, he could do that. It's an uncounterable way to then Welder, say, ensnaring Bridge onto the board.
Sure.
Buying himself a lot more turns. Bridge costs, Unlimited Bridge is abrupt decayable, so it's not.
Yeah, not a lock against.
Not a lock.
It is quite powerful against Rug lists and Blue-White Red lists, but certainly by no means a lock against the Bug lists.
All right, and his draw for the turn was the Grindstone, and then Shu will go ahead and Spell Pierce it, as was the plan in the first place. Shu untaps. Top 3 cards are Polluted Delta, Daze, and Deathrite Shaman. However, Shu has a 5/6 Tarmogoyf in play. Does not need too much more, as his opponent's at 6 life.
Again, unlike most red decks, very little burn element in Jack's deck, just a Giant Ballard and copies of Firebolt in the sideboard, so.
Yeah, so Firebolts in sideboard would be walk me through, what that would be for which matchups?
Delver and Hate Bears, I would imagine.
All right.
Good answer to Meddling Mage. Good answer to a card like Phyrexian Revoker that stops the combo.
So because of that, it's possible that he has the Firebolts in the deck right now.
There appears to be one in the graveyard, so
Right.
probably brought it in for, Deathrite Shaman and Delver of Secrets.
Yeah, however, Jeremy does have a Deathrite Shaman in his hand. Like, ideally, he'd want to use those Firebolts to go upstairs, see if he can sneak across 5 damage, but he's going to have to target a Deathrite Shaman with them, as Deathrite it represents the potential for Jeremy to gain quite a lot of life.
And Jeremy really stressing over this one, as you can see. Whether or not he wants to pay the extra life and take that Daze, I think, is the question.
Yeah. All right, he's not going to. He's going to go ahead and swing with the Tarmogoyf. That's going to get a chump from Jack. And now Deathrite Shaman's on the board. That could be lethal here. And Jack, the top-decked Painter Servant. I think Jeremy doing a fist bump there. Glad that he countered the Grindstone on the previous turn.
Yep.
Now, Grindstone is in the yard. If Jack were to top deck Ancient Furnace this next turn, he would. Well, he actually can't. I was going to say he would win, but it looks like he has to chump block this turn.
Well, he can block with the Painter Servant and use Welter, correct?
Sure, so if he has another Painter Servant in the yard, he can just weld block and then weld Servant into Servant.
Yeah.
However, Deathrite Shaman could put some stop to that shenanigan.
Right, he might be able to go get something like Grindstone, for example.
Yeah, Grindstone, maybe Ensnaring Bridge even. However, there is a Deathrite Shaman on the board. No, it looks like Jeremy took an extra card here, down to 1 life. And we'll see what he does here. Remember, he does have life gain with Deathrite Shaman. Still seems like Jeremy's up, but by no means have it locked up. And now Jack, swing with Tarmogoyf. Jack's going to look at what artifacts he has access to. There is Ensnaring Bridge. To be honest, I'm a little surprised he didn't go get the bridge. He does have more copies of Painter Servant.
Well, Jeremy is declaring his attack right now, and Jack is definitely thinking about swapping it up here.
Yeah, he backed up before the Tarmogoyf has swung. He had allowed Jeremy to go to combat, but not to attackers. Here, he can also get Grindstone. If he blocks and welds into Grindstone, then he has the possibility to draw Ancient Furnace and win. No, he doesn't. He's still, yeah, right? He can draw Ancient Furnace and win that turn. He can play Ancient Furnace, float 3 mana, switch Furnace for Servant, and then activate Grindstone.
Right, and this is why you see Jeremy taking the extra damage to take both Daze and Wasteland to cut some of this stuff off.
Right, the Wasteland will be key here. If he Wastelands away that plateau, that should take away the out that Jack has. Of course, there could always be another line he's playing toward. You know, Welder's certainly a card with many options.
One of Legacy's incredibly powerful but really underplayed cards. Asks a lot out of your deck construction, of course, but
yeah,
for 1 mana, it does quite a bit.
Yeah, Welder certainly more of a star, I believe, in Vintage. He sees quite a bit of play. However, in Vintage, you have more broken artifacts to get.
It's really good with boxes.
Yeah.
So.
Right. All right. And they're looking through his graveyard. Jack has to be sure that he can't swap Painter for Painter because of that Deathrite Shaman. Shaman would, in response, go ahead and eat the card that Jack targets in the yard. And exchange rules work that if 1/2 of the exchange is gone, the exchange just does not occur.
Well, let's bring up Goblin Welder on the screen here real quick, because a lot of these older cards are templated kind of bizarrely.
Yeah. So block with Painter. Welder is going to exchange Painter with a card in the graveyard. It's going to be Grindstone.
Yeah, because Goblin Welder, yeah, okay, they both target. Some of those cards just say swapsies,
yeah.
So just confirming that both target.
All right, and the Wasteland took out Plateau. And I think he's saying I'll block. And the draw from Jack, he has just 1 land in play, and he's going to pass the turn. Does not have anything he can work with. And Jeremy takes out a Firebolt in the yard. Jack's down to 4. That does mean Jack has 1 more draw before that Deathrite Shaman will be lethal.
And Jeremy being very careful here as he is playing around a Firebolt off the top. He can both daze it, and he can use Deathrite Shaman to gain life.
All right, and main phase, Jack's going to go ahead and switch that Grindstone out now for an Ensnaring Bridge. That will force Jeremy to win with Deathrite Shaman here. But still only really 1 turn away.
Right, Deathrite's definitely up to the task from this board.
And Sylvan Library sees Delver of Secrets, among others. Nothing particularly helpful. He's going to draw him to Turok, it looks like. Well, after casting that, he certainly won't be able to attack, but...
Yeah, he's just trying to strip him of threats here to make sure that he can set up a lethal Deathrite Shaman over the course of 2 turns.
All right, him to Turok, takes out Enlightened Tutor. There was no white source for Jack to cast it. And Jeremy will pass. Jack has 1 card here. See if he can get there. If he has an out. And takes the card, passes back. And Jack's going to go for the win. He's going to drain. Puts Jack down to 2. Untap. And this should be it. All right, Jeremy goes ahead and libraries again, finds Force of Will, and can't really cast Force of Will here as he's at 1. But this should be good. We'll see. going through the steps.
He's clearly suspicious of something weird happening here.
Well, he has access to his opponent's deck list. They don't have access during the match to the deck list. They can look at it between games, but actually not during the game. You can't be like, well, what are your outs? Can I see that deck list? That's... And he just said go. Jack got to draw. He drew Divining Top. Let me go ahead and tap and draw off the Divining Top.
This might prompt
All right,
Jeremy to act.
Sure. I don't think this, when he does it, particularly matters. It should just be lethal. I think he could have even done it on his own turn. He's going to say go. Jeremy's going to try to kill him, and that'll do it. Jeremy Shu, 2-0, defeats Jack Kitchen and moves on to the top 4.
Not a surprising result there, as the Bug Delver deck with a lot of tools for this matchup. Hand disrupt